Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ifeoluwa. In this video I'm going to show you how to cut and sew this halter neck dress with a princess dart bustier. So this is also fully padded and you don't have to wear a bra on this. And now I'm also going to show you how to prevent gaping around the armhole area, because I know that many people struggle with that. And also you are going to see how to avoid a zip bulge on this dress. Now if this is something you're interested in learning how to cut and sew, please stick around and watch this video to the end. If you're also seeing this video and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do well to subscribe, give my video a thumbs up, and also feel free to leave your questions and your comments in the comment section. Thank you very much guys. Now let's get started. So these are the measurements needed for this dress. I have my bust measurements, the waist measurements, the hip, the across back measurements, the armhole circumference, the front waistline, and the back waistline. So these two are very important if you want to prevent the zip bulge at the back. And then I have the length of my dress, that is the full length of this dress. Then I have the bust point measurements and the under bust measurements. Now I'm going to start by taking my chest line measurement, which is my armhole circumference divided by 2, or you can use your bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5. So I have 8.5 inches for mine. I'm going to mark that, and then I'll also mark my bust points, my under bust, and then the front waistline. So I'll do the same thing for the other side and I'll connect everything together. So I'll go ahead to label this. I have this as my shoulder line, this is the chest line, the bust points, the under bust, the front waistline. Now I have this side as my center front, so I made a mistake. It is center front CF and that part is the side front SF. Now in order to create the regular armhole, I'm going to put my across back measurement here divided by 2. So I have 16 inches for mine divided by 2, and then I have 8 inches. So I'm going to mark that from the shoulder line down to the chest line and connect a straight line. Now from the shoulder line I'm going to come down by 1 inch, and then whatever I have left I'm going to divide by 2 and mark that point. So from that point I'm going to come in by 0.75. Now on the chest line I'm going to measure out my bust measurements divided by 4, so I have 9.5 inches. And I'll go ahead to connect those 3 points with my armhole curve. So here I'm going to fix in my neckline measurement. So you have to be very careful for this part. You make sure that it's not too wide, so you can measure out your neckline to see the appropriate measurements that you should use. So for me I used 3 inches for both the neck width and the neck depth, so that is just perfect for my neckline. So I'm going to connect that with my French curve, and then I'll go ahead to connect the shoulder slant too. Now I'm going to fix in my bust span measurement here, which is the nipple to nipple measurement. 8 inches for mine divided by 2, which is 4 inches. So from the chest line down to the front waistline I'm going to connect that. Now on the front waistline here I'm going to take in 0.5 inch towards the center front and 1.5 inches towards the side front. I'm going to do the same thing for the under bust, and then I'll connect them together. So this is the dart for the bustier. So after connecting those parts together, I'm going to connect from the under bust to the bust point using my French curve. So now I'm going to connect my armhole for the halter neck. So starting from this my neckline here to the chest line, you can either use this straight ruler or you can use this curve. So I'm going to be using this curve for mine. So guys, this is how it looks like. So this is going to be the new armhole for this dress. Now I'm going to create my princess dart, and in order to do that I'm going to use my French curve to connect from this bust point here to the middle of the armhole. So this is what I have now, and then I have no use for this part anymore, and this is what I'm going to be concentrating on now, this armhole area. So this is what I'm going to do here in order to prevent gaping on the armhole area. So I'm going to be taking in dart here. I'll take in 0.5 here and then 0.5 here. So this way this part is going to be tighter on the armhole, preventing gaping. Then I'm going to connect those points back into the bust point using the French curve. So I already have my bust measurements on the chest line here, and then I'm going to measure out whatever I have there so that I can replace it on my chest line. So I have about 0.25, and then on my waistline I'm also going to divide my waist by 4 and mark that point. Then whatever I have here I'm going to replace it on the waistline. So I have about 2 inches, and I'm going to connect from the chest line down to the waistline. Now for my front waistline and back waistline I have a difference of 2 inches. So that 2 inches is what I'll be using to take in the side dart. So I'm going to take it on the bust point this way, and then I'll connect with a straight line into the bust point here towards the center front. So doing this is going to make the front and the back sides to align together, because we are trying to prevent zip bulge. Now I'm going to be cutting away these parts on this pattern paper. These are the parts that we don't need anymore. Now before I cut out what I have on my pattern paper, I'm going to fold in this dart here. So after folding the dart here, you see that the armhole is no longer equal. So this is where I can fix it before I cut it out, and then you will notice that on the fabric you don't have equal armhole. So I'm going to use my curve to connect them back together, and then after doing this I can now cut out what I have. So now when I want to cut out, I'll be cutting out these new lines that I just made for the armhole. I'm going to close up the side darts that I created here, and to do that I'm going to open one of these parts and cut a little bit before the bust point. I'll do the same thing for this other side here. I'll cut this part open and stop a little bit before the bust point. And I'm going to use my masking tape to cover up the side darts. So this way the front and the back sides would align together. So here I'm also going to draw out a new line to replace the broken parts there. Now I'll go ahead to cut out the rest of what I have. If you are still watching this, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also give this video a thumbs up so it can be visible to many more people. Thank you very much. So this is it for the front pattern of the top part of this dress. Now I'm going to move on to the back pattern. For the back pattern, I'm going to first of all bring out my zip allowance. So I'm going to be using 1 inch for the zip allowance. I'm going to connect a straight line. So I'm going to mark out my chest line, which is the same thing I used at the front, which is 8.5 inches. Then I'm going to mark out my back waistline measurement. So for my own back waistline measurement, I have 15 inches, which is different from the front waistline measurement. So you make sure you also accurately measure yours to know what you have. Then I'm going to connect those lines together. So I have this as my shoulder line, I have this part as my chest line, my back waistline, and then I have this part as my center back. Now from that center back line there, I'm going to measure out my across back measurement, which is my shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2. I'll mark it from the shoulder line down to the chest line. Now I'm going to come down by 1 inch here, and then whatever I have left I'm going to divide by 2 and I'll mark that point. So from that point I'm going to come in by 0.5. Now on the chest line I'm going to take my bust measurement divided by 4, starting from the center back line there. So I have 9.5 inches, and I'm going to connect those 3 points with my armhole curve. Now for my neckline, I'm going to use the same thing I used at the front, which is 3 inches for the neck width, and then for the neck depth I'm going to use 1 inch. So starting from the center back line, that is where I marked out my neckline. So I'm going to connect with my curve, and then I'll also connect my shoulder slant with my ruler. Now another step I'm going to take in order to prevent zip bulge is to come in by 1 inch on the waistline. So from the center back line there, I measured in 1 inch from the waistline, and I'm going to connect that into the chest line on both sides. So this is going to be my new zip allowance. So from this new point of my zip allowance here, I'm going to measure out my waistline. So I'm not going to be fixing that here, so I'm just going to put in my waistline measurement divided by 4, and then I'll connect from the chest line down to the waistline. Now for my outer neck, I'm going to connect from this point of my neckline down to my chest line. So I'm going to use this curve to connect that together, so the same way I did for the front. So guys, this is all for the back pattern. It is very simple and it is straightforward, and I'm going to go ahead to cut out what I have. So this is what I have for my front and my back pattern. So what is next is just to cut out on the fabric, and I'm going to add all the necessary allowances needed. This is the fabric I'm going to use for this dress. I have about 3 yards of fabric here in total, and then I already folded this. What I want to do here is to cut out the length of the dress, so starting from my waist to the knee length. So I'm going to go ahead to cut out the length that I need for the gathers. So I'm using the length from my waistline down to my knee line, and then I'm going to add about 1.5 inches for allowance for taping the hemline, and then allowance for sewing the waistline to the waistline of the top part. So this is it for the gathers, and I'm going to use the remaining parts to cut out the upper part of this dress. So for the neckline, which is for the turtleneck area of this dress, I already measured out around my neck to know what would be comfortable for me. So when I measured around my neck, I had 16 inches for mine, and then I folded it into 2 this way, and I measured out the 16 inches divided by 2, which is 8 inches. And then I also went ahead to add 1 more inch for the zip. So the turtleneck too is going to have zip for this dress. So as it is opened up like this, I have 18 inches altogether. And then for the length of my turtleneck, I used 2 inches altogether, so it is folded this way. So by the time I open it up, I'm going to have 4 inches altogether. So I already cut out the pocket I'm going to fix to my dress, which is optional, so you can do this too if you want. Now I already cut out my fabric for the top part of this dress, and I added all the necessary allowances to it. I also cut out the lining I'll be using to turn over the dress. Now for the zip allowance part, I didn't bother to add any allowance there because I already have the zip there. Then for the side, I added 1.5, and then for the lower part and the upper part, I added 0.5. Now for the front, the center front, I cut out on fold, and then I also cut out my lining for this. So I added 0.5-inch allowance for the rest. Now this is for the side, I added 0.5 also, and then 1.5 for the side same, and 0.5 for the rest. Now I'm going to use this pattern paper to cut out what I'll use to pad this dress. So from the chest line here, I'm going to come up by 1 inch, and then I'll do the same thing at the other side, and then I'll connect a straight line. So the padding is going to stop on the under bust, and I'm going to cut that out and cut out the 1 inch that I came up by there. Now for the side, I'm also going to come up by 1 inch from the chest line, and then I'm going to use my French curve to connect from that 1 inch into the under bust. So this is what I have, and then with this I'm going to cut out the breast part I'm going to use for this dress. So you can see here I already cut out the wadding, and then I had a 0.5 inch around the parts that I'll be joining to the dress. So only the part I'll be joining to the dress, I added 0.5 inch allowance, and then the upper and the lower part I didn't add any allowance there. Now I'm going to attach the wadding to my fabric using my iron, and you know that the wadding has two sides. It has the right side and the wrong side. So the right side is what I'll be attaching to this my fabric. So I'm going to use my iron to gum it down to the fabric. So after making sure it is well ironed to the fabric, I'm going to join them together. Now you make sure that you are very patient while joining this part because it can be very tricky. So you can either pin them together before joining, or you just patiently join this together. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other side, and then I'll show you what I have later. So whatever I'm doing for the main fabric, I'm also going to do the same thing for the lining. So here on the lining, I'm just showing you how you can pin it before you join together. So that is, if you want to also join the main fabric, you can go ahead to pin this up before joining together. So guys, this is what I have after sewing. You can see how clean this is, and then you can also see how structured the bustier is. So I've already ironed it perfectly well. So you make sure that you use your tailor's arm to iron this part so that the curves will come out very well. So this is what I have for the lining too. So the next thing to do now is to create the gathers on the top part. So I'm going to leave the lining for now because I want to come out with a neatly finished dress. So I won't be fixing the lining yet, but I'll be fixing the gathers now. And then you'll notice that for the gathers, I'm fixing separately on the front and the back side. So you know that I cut out about 3 yards of fabric for the gathers in total. Then I had to separate them because I'll be fixing pockets to the sides. So you have to separate them if you're going to fix pockets, but if you're not fixing pockets, you don't have to separate anything. So I have this one now is only for the front here. So what I'm doing here is to fold it, and then I'm going to notch the midpoints so that I can have equal sides when I'm joining the gathers of this for this dress. I'm also going to notch the midpoint of this too. Then I'm going to join them together this way, the right sides facing each other, and then I'm going to pin the midpoints together. So you can go ahead to make your pleats or your gathers all through for this dress, but for me, I decided to make the front part a little bit relaxed. That is what I'm trying to show you, what how I did it here. So I'm using my pin here to demarcate the parts that won't be pleated on this dress. So I used the dart area of the dress to show where I won't pleat at all. So it means that the remaining sides here will be pleated. So I'm going to show you how I did this on my machine so that you can understand better. Now this is for my back. I'm going to do the same thing. Now you see that I already separated the fabric, that is the gathers for the back too. So that is also because I'll be fixing the pockets. So started from the zip allowance part here, I measured out the parts that I won't be fixing the pleats to. So I have about 3.5 inches in total. Then just as I did for the front, the right sides should be facing each other. Then I'm going to use my pin to demarcate the parts that won't be pleated, and then for the rest of the parts, for the rest of the sides, I'm going to pleat them. So I'm going to take everything to my machine now and show you how I'm going to pleat. I'm going to start with the back, and then you can see I already use my pin to show where I want to pleat. If you want, you can go ahead to pleat everything. After sewing to the parts of where I used my pin to demarcate, I'm going to start the pleating from there. So you can see how I'm going to pleat this, and then by the time I get to the end there, I'm going to stop a little bit before the side seam allowance. So the side seam I used 1.5 inches, so you make sure that you stop before that 1.5 inches, so that by the time you are joining the sides together, you would have difficulty joining them. So guys, this is what I have for one side of the back. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. Now for the front part, you can see that I already have the sides that will be relaxed, and then the other sides would have pleats. I'm going to be starting from here, and don't forget that I said for the side seam, that is the 1.5 inches, you make sure that you don't pleat on the side seam. So guys, this is the result. This is the outcome of the pleats. Now the next thing to do is to join the sides together. So the sides of the side of the front and the side of the back, you make sure that the right sides are facing each other. Now if you are fixing your pocket, this is an opportunity for you to fix in the pockets. Now for the lining is going to be a little bit different from the main fabric. So for the lining, I'm also going to join the sides together, and then it is after I join the sides together, I'm going to fix in the gathers. So here I already cut out the lining I'll be using for the gathers. Now you make sure that you cut out more than enough so that it won't be tight on the hip area. So I used my hip measurement, and then I added about 10 inches extra so that it's going to be free. So after joining the sides of the top part, I'm going to join the lining for the lower parts. I'm going to gather it on the top parts. So guys, this is the result. You can see that the sides are now joined, and then I also went ahead to fix in my pockets. And then this is what I have for the lining too. I've already joined and fixed in the lower parts of the lining. Now the next thing to do is to join the lining to the fabric, to the main fabric. So the only part I'm going to be joining here is the armhole. I'm not going to join the neckline because I'll be fixing another like a turtleneck on the neckline. So only the armhole will be joined together. Now the lining and the main fabric, they're already facing themselves, the right sides facing each other, and I'm going to go ahead to join them. So this is what I have after joining them, and then I went ahead to also notch the armhole area. So I notched it so that, because it is curvy, so that by the time I open it up to the other side, it's going to lay very well. And then for the zip part, I also went ahead to join them together using 0.25 because I want this to be neatly finished. So I went ahead to join the lining to the main fabric with about 0.25, so just 0.25. So I'm going to turn this over to the other side now. So this is what I have after turning over to the other side, and then you can see the zip allowance part. So that way, by the time I fix in my zip, that part is going to be neatly finished. Now it is time to work on my neckline. So this is the piece of fabric that I already cut out, and then what I'm going to do is to notch the midpoint. So I'm going to look for the midpoint there, and then I'll notch it. So I'll do the same thing for my top too. For the dress, I'm also going to notch the midpoint of the neckline. So now that I've gotten my midpoint, I'm going to join them together. So I'm using the wrong side of the top of the main dress, and then the right side of the turtleneck that I cut out. So you know this one was on fold before, and then I opened it up. I hope you understand what I'm doing. So you can just carefully watch what I'm doing here to understand better. So the right side of the turtleneck that I cut out is facing the wrong side of the neckline. So I'm going to pin that down together. So after pinning the front side together, I'll come to the back, and then I'll start from the zip allowance part. I'm going to start from this part here, and then I'll also pin them together. So I'll go ahead to do the same thing for the other side, and then I'll pin them together. So after pinning, I'm going to take this to my machine to sew with about 0.5 inch. So that is the allowance that I left for it. So guys, this is what I have after sewing with 0.5. Now the next thing to do in order to come out with something very neat, what I'm going to do now is to fold it this way, and then I'm going to pin it this way too. So doing it this way, you're going to come out with a neat front and a neat back. So you can see how the back looks like. That is the beauty of using this method. Now what I'm going to do now is to sew a little bit towards the edge there to secure what I already have. So guys, this is what I have after sewing. You can see how it looks like, and you can see how neat it is. Now the next thing to do is to fix in my zip for this dress. So I'll go ahead to fix in the zip, and then after fixing the zip, I'm going to tape the hem line. So guys, this is what I have after fixing the zip. You make sure that you iron this perfectly well, and then we've come to the end of this tutorial. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and let me know if you're going to be trying this out. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also give this video a thumbs up so it can be visible to many more people. You can also leave your questions and your comments in the comment section. So thank you very much guys for watching. I'm going to see you in my next tutorial. Bye.